Welcome back to Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast, the recap of Stage 11 of the Vuelta a España. We are in Bilbao for the 157-kilometer stage that goes to the northeast of Bilbao through the medium mountains. We got some Rampas Inhumanas today. We've got the Côte de Pique as the final. It's really hard all day, 3,000 meters of climbing, uphill start, but bigger roads, and then it progressively gets harder. They do 2 reps of the Alto del Vivero, 4.5 Ks, 8% with some steeper sections. Descent, big road, Alto de Pique, which is where the Tour de France finished in 2023 on stage 1, where Lafay won and followed Vingegaard and Pogacar. Bonus gate on top, 642 bonies, descent, and then 8 Ks to the line, which is mostly on the descent actually. So very fast and not technical, like power pedaling descent. And we had a lot of chatter both last night. I mean, if two ignorant people sitting in Andorra and the UK can sense that this is probably a situation that's not going in a good direction, and just sitting on your hands idly and hoping there aren't issues is probably not going to work. If we thought that last night when we did the preview of today's stage, that there would be protests and disturbance of the race and it's not going to be probably safe enough for the riders, and I'm not sure what they can do about it. If we thought that, then a lot of the riders thought that as well, and then the organization, we were maybe thinking something would happen. What was Daniel Free was reporting a lot this morning, Benji? What was coming out from the CPA, from journos on the ground?
Well, first of all, I heard a couple of people tell me in private that there were ongoing conversations within the chat between the riders, so in the peloton, and the CPA. So the CPA is the riders' union. So it's an organization led by Adam Hansen at the moment, which tries to advocate for the safety and the rights of the cyclists in the race. And there was a lot of conversations in that. I think it's still a Telegram group, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's a WhatsApp these days, but I think it's a Telegram. And that's where they were chatting about, okay, Israel Premier Tech as a team, whether they should be excluded from the race, etc., and how they would handle today's stage in terms of safety, because there were riders from multiple teams that felt a bit endangered about today's stage possibly happening in a similar fashion as yesterday, where this is also a fallout from yesterday. Simone Petilli from Intermarché, we glossed over it maybe a bit too quickly yesterday. He crashed in the peloton because of people protesting, pro-Palestinian protesters by the side of the road that crossed the line. My opinion on protesting is simple. Peaceful protesting, super big respect for that. Today I saw many Basque people by the side of the road with a Basque flag and a Palestinian flag. A Macedonian guy with also a Palestinian flag. I don't know what he was doing in Basque country, but hey, fair game. He was watching La Vuelta. Stuff like that, perfectly fine with it. When they cross the line, and some people cross the line, as we saw today as well again, as we saw yesterday, and start endangering cyclists and motorists, then you're actually advocating against your cause at this point because you're losing people. And that's the sad reality. Plus, you're not just losing people, you're also hindering the safety of the ongoing event. And when safety is damaged and in danger, like Petilli yesterday, Petilli crashed by the side of the road. He posted a tweet as well. I should probably read it out instead of just quoting my own opinion, because a cyclist's opinion on this is probably more warranted. His opinion was on Twitter: I understand that it is not a good situation, but yesterday I crashed because of a protest on the road. Please, we are just cyclists and we are doing our job, but if it will continue like this, our safety is not guaranteed anymore and we feel in danger. We just want to race, please. I think Vervaeke commented also on it on Twitter as well yesterday. So it's definitely an ongoing conversation in the peloton, and we saw that with the pre-race reporting. Also by Daniel Friebe, like you mentioned. I'm going to try and get the exact tweets up because...
I got it.
Okay, go ahead.
This is from our colleague Daniel Friebe, who's a long-standing journalist, probably been to 1 million Grand Tours. He does the hard yards actually at the race, and also one of the founders of the Cycling Podcast. He said...
He does what we are too lazy to do.
Exactly. He actually does the real hard work. He said, believe there'll be a meeting of team representatives, CPA, and race organizers shortly before today's rollout at the Vuelta. Several teams have registered their preference for Israel Premier Tech to pull out given the increased security risks. And then he has a photo of the meeting. I dare say at the neutral zone, having the meeting is probably a little bit too late. It's like, what, they're just going to turn around and say, we don't do the stage, or the Israel Premier Tech riders should pull out. Anyway, Viviani said that, who was a CPA rep, that the riders would do the race if it was peaceful, and that the CPA wouldn't demand the IPT riders pull out. Quote, we wouldn't go against our colleagues. But then there's a subsequent tweet saying, but then some teams did want the riders to pull out, or the IPT riders to pull out.
Which is also fair from those riders and teams, because their riders are also in danger in these races.
Well, yeah, because just from a pure pragmatic perspective, if you believe the protests are endangering you, and if another team pulls out, there will not be any subsequent protests, then your preference is you just want them to pull out of the race. That didn't happen. So really what happened was nothing. Nothing happened. And what we expected to happen kind of did happen, which is nothing too bad. Like, nothing that bad happened. But I think the UCI is in a bind because they take direction from the IOC. They sit under the umbrella of the IOC.
What's the IOC for the people that don't know?
The International Olympic Committee. So cycling is an Olympic sport, and so their federation sits under, or is not under, that's not exactly correct, but they take direction from the IOC. And when the IOC banned Russian or Belarusian teams, registered teams, or athletes competing under their own flag, so Gazprom, which was Russian registered and also a state-owned corporation in Russia, when the Ukraine war kicked off in 22, the IOC issued that edict. The UCI, which then takes direction from them, it was very easy for them. They just basically replicate it. They just enforce it and roll it out into their relevant sports and federation under their federation. There's no such thing for the ongoing Israel, and since October 23. There's been no ban of Israeli athletes. There's been no ban of Israeli registered teams from the IOC. So the UCI is like, are they going to be a first mover of the international federations? Because if you kick IPT out of the race, like, I think you could do it and say, we're not banning IPT. We're just saying this race is no longer safe for you to do, and so we recommend you pull out.
Yes, but for me, when we see race organizers of race or race officials throughout the parkour, videos online on social media of them doing this, ripping Palestinian flags by the side of the road away, putting them in their car, stuff like that, that's a part of peaceful protesting that they are then working against. In doing so, probably making the protesting worse for themselves.
Yeah. Sorry, I was checking the interview and quotes.
You're not even listening to me. Come on.
I wouldn't. I was bringing up some more quotes. Yeah. So anyway, the stage started, and then there was no real big.
It didn't start at first.
Oh, didn't it?
Because in the neutral zone, there were pro-Palestinian protesters with a large banner that stopped the peloton, where there was once again a discussion from the riders. And I feel like the outcome of that discussion was that the riders would stop if there was another incident, which we'll see later in the race if that happens or not. But that happened, and then the race restarted. That was a disruptive protest. But for me, I've said it already, there's peaceful protesting, there's disruptive protesting, there's violent protesting. I'm vehemently against violent protesting. When you're disruptive but not endangering people, then you're walking on a line that I can probably accept if your cause is valuable. Anyway, race starts, and we see lots of attackers. We're talking about the race now for everybody that's watching and listening. Lots of attackers, but to me it looks like Visma Lease Bike has a plan up their sleeve. Patrick, I looked at the calendar, and I saw 2 dates. Jonas Vingegaard, one of his children, is born on today's date.
Wait, you have that on your calendar?
No, someone on Twitter noted it.
Okay.
So,
Like the
Vingegaard
Danish
has a child
media-
whose birthday is today.
And then it came out in the Campeonato vlog, which was during the stage that was the case. And Vingegaard was like, yeah, we're going to go for it today. So Visma basically, Pedersen went. Groups of 3 were allowed. Bigger groups, Ayuso tries. Tullet goes in the group. Koos or Campeonatos go in the group. Bigger groups. Kelderman and Van Baarle just start doing the 2023 Visma strategy where they're just going to ride at a set hard tempo, not react to anything. And Tullet and Campeonatos go with the dangerous moves and neutralize them. That happens. Pedersen gets in a break eventually with Aular and Soler, a break of 3. He was so strong, Pedersen, that like there was then a big jumping phase behind him, and then everyone kind of gave up. Soler was in it. Soler was on 3 minutes though on GC, but he does this normally at the start of the second week of the Vuelta. He will like throw away his GC to go for the stage. He's also won this stage before on the Vivero. I'm pretty sure he won this finish before from a break. So that's not happening. Pedersen just wants the KOM, not the KOM, the intermediate sprint points. They keep it really tight, 1 minute, 1:30, and then eventually Soler goes solo, and Visma Lab just keep doing the same strategy when we get to Vivero, Benji. Just steady pace with the 2 Dutch tall guys, and then Campenaerts and Tullet respond to the like actual attacks.
That's what happens when we have multiple attacks by Soler up the road with Pedersen and Aular. Pedersen in there for the green jersey points, I would say. That move doesn't really stick. Soler is in that break quite a long time, though. And then eventually, Vervaeke bridges, they get caught by the peloton, which is led by Visma Leasebike. In the meanwhile, like you said, Tullet and Campenaerts were jumping on moves. And then later in the race, I would argue that the similar thing happens again. We get a breakaway with Buitrago up the road. Then there's a second group that forms with maybe Landa, etc. Then Campenaerts is also present in that group. Landa then flies towards Buitrago, if I recall. Those 2 riders are up front. Campenaerts group gets caught by the peloton, but Landa cramps out of the breakaway. That was something I actually didn't expect today. And you might have mentioned already that Soler won this finish a couple years ago, so maybe that's why he wanted to go in the breakaway to try and repeat it again. Landa said before today's stage that if he wins today, he might retire tomorrow, which that would have been a pretty badass exit from the sport, in my opinion. So with his cramping out of the breakaway, that was clearly not going to happen. Nonetheless, like you said, it was all going to happen in the final because Visma Leasebike was controlling the peloton and the gap towards the breakaway. So Buitrago had about 40 seconds at the second last climb, the Alto del Vivero. And that's where we see a change of the guard, Patrick. We see Oliveira and Nova going to the front, hard pacing the first half a kilometer of the climb. Was that more positioning or more trying to set up a move?
I think it was trying to set up Almeida. I think he's been aggressive the whole Vuelta pretty much. He's attacked whenever he's felt good, and he's got Großschartner there, Vine there, and they want to disrupt Visma. They don't want Visma to just do exactly whatever their plan or is for the stage. So he's trying to mix things up. And when you're Almeida isolating himself is not that big a deal because he's in second now. So like he'll get a bit of help from Ciccone. He'll get help from Pellizzari and Hindley. Like guys will relay with him even if he does have even if Jorgensen starts to do the 1-2, say he gets isolated against Visma, I think the other GC contenders will cooperate with him. And they won't just be like, oh, Jorgensen's attacked, it's an Almeida problem. So I think it's fine. And I think it's credit to Almeida. I've never seen Almeida ride so consistently aggressively in a Grand Tour. It's cool.
That is true. Although I kind of didn't expect it today. When I look at today's profile, I see a profile where Jonas Vingegaard can drop Almeida and take time. Like I said it yesterday on the podcast. I was surprised that UAE was aggressive. Maybe they thought, okay, if we can make Vivero harder than Côte de Piquet, Alto de Piquet, sorry, I Frenchified it again. Maybe that climb can be a bit less explosive. Maybe that's their thought process. But he was definitely attacking on this climb, and our man Jai Hindley looked pretty good, I would say, because Fisher Black was also active on this climb. So I would say that it's looking pretty good for our podium selection there. Nonetheless, Almeida's attacks were answered by Jonas Vingegaard. Then Pellizzari counters for the white in his white jersey. So maybe Bora was like, okay, let's try and roll attacks and see where that goes, because both of the riders are still in GC. Ben Tollet controls that, and I gotta say, this was easily the strongest stage by Ben Tollet in this Vuelta so far. Super strong. It's also the stage that, in my opinion, fits him very well. And we saw him as one of the best riders in the race at that portion of the race. So very, very strong. And then Butrago is about to get caught. And Almeida attacks around him. It was a bit of a telephoned attack. I don't know if that's an English expression as well, but
Yeah.
Vingegaard controls it. Tollet's still there. He sets a controlling tempo. So at the end of the day, we get over Vivero with limited gaps between the top GC riders, but we did see... had we seen a Bernal and so forth drop at this point during those attacks? Yes, but I feel like they came back after the top, no?
They came back, but there was a pretty big gap. Like Jorgensen's on a... No, Campanar's on a gap, Koos on a gap. Goal is with Koos on a pretty big gap. And then there was a protester who, basically at the top of Vivero unfurled a banner and the riders had to avoid him or her. It was luckily it was a pretty like slow, settled portion of the climb. But Tollet then starts to ride like a defensive tempo. The groups come back. And then at that time, we hear the communication, well, it's on the television, that the race will have no stage winner and that the times will be taking it 3 kilometers to go, which is like the outskirts of Bilbao because European cities are small. And they'll still race up Alto de Pique. They'll still have the bonus seconds on top of Alto de Pique, 6:42. But there'll be no stage winner, and they'll take the times at 3Ks to go.
Now, there's a bit of context there. We have gone through this finish line already before at this point in the race. And during the previous going through that finish line, the barriers, there were multiple people that had to hold the barriers because the protesters were pushing the barriers inwards, in doing so potentially endangering the final. And as the riders came across as well. So I assume that the decision was made because of that. If that barrier incident doesn't happen at the finish, and there were a lot of people with Palestinian flags, etc. at the finish, a lot of protesters with cardboards, etc. If that barrier incident doesn't happen, I assume that maybe the finish does happen at the finish line. But then we do see a change at the finish line as well, where there were a limited amount of, I don't know if it's called police officers or whether it was race people that were there trying to hold it. But by the time we get over Vivero, we get pictures of the finish line with lots of policemen, lots of police officers, etc. every meter. So something changed in between there. Yeah, riot police. So
like they got riot shields. It's Basque police though, looking at their sleeves. So it is Basque police. But they just they obviously decided that if this kicks off, we do not have the manpower to like control this situation against this many, maybe hundreds, maybe thousands of people. We just can't deal with it. And so then the organizers decided to call it and not have the finish there. Pidcock still rode through the finish, or we'll get to the Alto de Pique, but it's not like a football stadium where you have like huge barriers that people have to climb over. We got a little tiny waist-high barrier that people can move easily, and it's not. They can literally touch the riders if they sprint that close. It's not like when there's an athletics track and then a 20-meter high barrier at a football ground. So they obviously decided they couldn't do the finish safely. We don't know what would have happened if they did do the finish. Maybe nothing. Maybe nothing would have happened and it would have been fine. They would have come in their 1s and 2s. It wouldn't have been a mass sprint anyway. But they decided to call it. And so
I think it's better to make that decision because the safety of the riders is also important here. I am an advocate of peaceful protesting and I'm okay with people giving out their voice like that, but I'm also an advocate for the safety of the riders. So at the end of the day, I'm actually fine with the outcome of how the race was ended, you know? As in counting the times with 3 kilometers to go, having no stage winner. I don't care too much. I'm fine with that. Like, I saw the GC action I wanted to see. That's all that. But talking about that GC action, Patrick, because it's not done yet. We spoke about the finish line, but there's one climb left, the Côte de Pique, the Alto de Pique. I keep Frenchifying it because the Tour de France did it. Like, ASO needs to stop Frenchifying these Spanish climbs because I keep doing it too now. The Côte de Pique, the Alto de Pique was coming, and that's a steep one. That's the one where we saw Simon Yates and Adam Yates.
Yeah, they came back afterwards. So this descent, as I said, it's a power descent. So you can, if you've got the legs afterwards and you're fast, you can come back. And then if someone's got a gap, it's hard to bring them back if they're pushing and you're not getting help. So it's not like a daredevil descent. It's, tuck up, get aero, pedal. But we see Almeida talking to Vingegaard. We see Visma with numbers, Tullet's pacing, and then Vingegaard looks disinterested. He looks compared to how he looked the rest of the stage. They get to the Alto de Pique. It's 5 across, like with the GC guys. Jorgensen's just setting a steady tempo. We're like, oh, there's nothing going to happen. Großschartner starts to pace. Yep. So maybe Almeida did want to race. And then Pidcock attacks. Strong attack. Vingegaard's on the wheel. It starts to get steep. Almeida's on a gap with Hindley, Gol, and Jorgensen. Actually, Almeida was in the middle, and then those guys came back to him. And then Vingegaard starts to look around. He starts to look around like he did when Pogačar dropped him on Saint-Hilaire. He gets dropped first time. Comes back to the wheel on a flatter section. Pidcock sees he's under pressure. Get to the next steep section. Pidcock goes again, really, really hard. Drops Vingegaard. Vingegaard's riding maybe the same pace as Almeida. Pidcock, this has got to be the best. Is this the best thing he's ever done in his career?
The best thing in his career is maybe a bit. I think Strade Bianche was up there as well.
Yeah,
the only rider to follow Tadej Pogačar.
Yeah, but he drops the red jersey on the day Visma went all in for Vingegaard, who followed Pog on this climb 2 years ago. It's got to be clear, up there.
I am of the opinion that Jonas Vingegaard struggled and got dropped there. Didn't make a decision of okay, I can lose a bit of time to Pidcock, stuff like that. He's not my enemy, blah blah blah. Fine. I don't believe that's the case. I think he got dropped here today. But I'm also of the opinion that the fact that the stage wins out, he looked a bit disinterested, stuff like that, can also affect the mental state of riders in these last 15 kilometers. So, I don't know. I'm not going to put much into the last 15 kilometers of the stage between Pidcock and Vingegaard. I don't expect Pidcock to win this race. I'm happy to see him at this level. I hope he continues it, especially on the stages where we don't necessarily expect it, which is Angliru and Bola del Mundo. Those are two examples of that. The steepness of those climbs might help him a little bit, but the length of it, I'm a little bit worried about. And especially because it's not just one climb on those stages as well. Angliru has 2 climbs before that, and Bola del Mundo has 3 categorized climbs, I think, before it starts. So there's more action during the stage there that might put him in the red before that final climb starts, because he's doing very well on Unipuerto stages so far, which Unipuerto stages are stages with one mountain at the end, one climb at the end.
It's the Vuelta.
I know. Today was not that, but today is not a mountain stage either. Today is a parkour that you would expect Pidcock to do well on. We even mentioned yesterday that a Q36.5 might control it. It wasn't necessary because Visma bike did. So super cool to see that by Pidcock, but I'm not putting that much weight on Vingegaard dropping on the Alto de Pique. I'm not saying, okay, he's losing it at this Vuelta. On Angliru, he's gonna break apart. Don't expect that. I am also not surprised that Almeida dropped today. Super expected on today's parkour. And I'm also not surprised that Visma Lease bike was going for the stage to begin with. But now the thing is, we get over the top of this climb and Pidcock and Vingegaard have 10 seconds on the group with Hindley, Almeida, Gol, and Jorgensen. And those 10 seconds become maybe roughly 11 or 12 seconds. I haven't checked yet what the actual gap at the finish line was, or the pretend to be finish line. They don't really know. Because with 3 kilometers to go, the stage was ended. So after the descent of the Côte de Pique, and that was the race. It was a bit of a weird and abrupt ending to the race, but if it keeps the riders safer, then I feel like I didn't miss much by not seeing the finish line today.
Oh, I disagree in that this would have been like a pretty big moment in Pidcock and his career and Q365's franchise.
That's true.
If he drops Vingegaard comes back on the descent, they work together, and he dusts him at the finish, which is also no guarantee he beats Vingegaard in the sprint, because Vingegaard could have played the Jorgensen card behind, because Jorgensen was with Hindley, Gol, and Almeida. But still, if he dusts him there in the finish, pretty iconic victory for Pidcock and that team. But it didn't happen. and Peacock takes 6 bonies, Vingegaard 4, Almeida 2, and then let's say 10 seconds. So Vingegaard extends his lead on Almeida by 14 seconds, best guess, and that takes it to like a minute.
Mate,
That takes it to 52 seconds.
Okay.
Tomorrow, what do we got?
Tomorrow we have...
Well, before tomorrow, I don't know, where are we going from Laredo? We're going to south of Santander, so we're heading across to Cantabria area, towards the Asturias. Does the UCI need to do, like, what are the organizers going to do? Just hope that every day it's okay?
Mate, I have no clue how to solve this from an organizational standpoint. I think there is a solution. I don't know if excluding IPT would stop the protesting, because what's happening in Gaza would still be happening. But I don't know if, because UCI will not do that. You said it earlier. The UCI will not do that because of IOC.
They're not going to demand a legally registered team that's not excluded by the UCI. The organizers are not going to demand that they exit the race. So they're going to probably put pressure and hope that maybe that the team itself makes the decision in the best interest of their riders to step out of the race.
I think it's very fair for other teams to come forward and say IPT being president of this race is endangering our riders, especially because IPT has acknowledged that themselves. Because they have taken the Israel logo from their bus, etc. at some point during the year already to avoid their riders being more endangered. So, but I don't expect that to come from the UCI. I don't expect that to come from the Vuelta organizers. Like, I'm sorry, we're two podcasters. I don't think we're going to solve the problem in the ongoing conflict here either.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do, but I think just hoping that nothing bad happens and just maybe getting to the 10Ks to go, and are we going to race the finish today? I'm not sure that's the most proactive way forward.
Is it surprising to you that we as podcasters can yesterday predict that today would be a disrupted stage?
Yeah, but they knew as well. They just hoped it would
have no backup plan?
I mean, they just hoped it would be okay.
Why, I'm sorry. I hoped it would be okay. Yeah, Nothing to see here. Like, what the fuck?
I guess they, just didn't have enough police, or, as I said, it's a sport where you can...
Can you have a backup finish line?
Well, they did.
Because the finish line is
They did have a backup.
Well,
why didn't the stage winner get decided there?
Because they couldn't put a line in time because they weren't prepared enough.
But they drew a chalk line. Remember the 2 years ago on stage 9, the uphill finish, when the break was allowed to fight for the win in the muddy rain storm stage, and then they took the GC times at like 6Ks to go. Just draw a line in with chalk on the ground, and then maybe I don't know, man. I'm not a race organizer. It's also not easy to organize a bike race, so that's also the question. Like you said, if IPT step out of the race, do all the protests stop? I don't know. Would the protests probably have been worse in the most concentrated or dense in the Basque Country? Yeah, most likely. They were in Catalonia. It wasn't like this. They interrupted the Israel Premier Tech team time trial, so it was a very specific action. They didn't interrupt the race, but maybe in Cantabria and Asturias and Galicia, they don't expect it to be as bad. I don't know. But tomorrow's stage,
I want to, if I'm allowed, I want to finish on a bit of a more, I'm not sure I can call it a positive note, but I do want to shout out something a little bit. It's something that I've personally financially supported in the last couple of weeks, and I don't know if you agree with me doing this or not, but I don't care. There's an organization called Gaza Sunbirds, and they are at the Paralympics in Ronse right now doing an event. and their owner obviously is a Paralympic athlete. Their founder is a Paralympic athlete, and they fund cyclists from Gaza that also race in the Paralympics, stuff like that, to try and get them ready for those kind of events. So I think it's worth a shout out. So I think they've also provided humanitarian aid over the last couple of years. So it's an organization that I personally support. But I just wanted to get that out there.
Tomorrow's stage from Laredo to Los Corrales de Buelna, 146 kilometers long, 32 Ks flat start. Then there's a category 2, 8.6 Ks, 5.9%. A descent rolling Spanish flat, which means it's kind of hilly. And then the Collada de Brenes, 7 Ks, 8%, bonus gate on top, category 1. Then a tricky descent. The top of that's 22 Ks from the finish. 7 Ks, 8%. Let me look at the... Pretty hard. The first 4 Ks in the middle are average about 9%. So pretty difficult climb. I have a feeling, did Padun do something crazy on this climb? Let me check.
I have no clue. I do not remember.
I feel like Brenes. This climb is speaking to me. Is this No Risk, No Glory?
It says something. It might be. No, it's too long, right?
No, that was Yomena.
Collada de Brenes was in the Vuelta 2022, stage 6. Jay Vine won that.
Yeah.
Was the climb before Picojano.
2022, stage 6. So they did it before Picojano, but now they finished with the descent. This is gonna be breakaway stage. It's gonna be breakaway. Got that, like the GC teams looking at the Angleroo the day after. You got a tricky descent, not an uphill finish, and even though there's a bonus gate on top, I just think this is break. And then when you look at Vine, Ayuso, Soler, I don't know how much time Soler lost today. Probably a bit. It's hard to go past them. So I'm going for Marc Soler winning the stage from the breakaway with Visma waiting for the Angleroo.
I think that's a great call, actually. I think you might be right. Because like Visma Leasebike has no interest to get anything out of this stage, you know? It's like, yeah, maybe on that climb there can be differences made, but then on the flat behind the descent, no, what was the statement again by Roglic?
No risk, no glory.
Yeah, like Visma Leasebike does not need to do that, especially with Angleroo coming and that being the stage where everything will happen. So I expect the UAE rider to win the stage. I don't know who it is.
I think so too.
It's a fast cat climb, the last one, so Jay Vine might go in the breakaway again, try and get his third one. Patrick, I'm sorry. The entire comment section of our preview was calling you out. I'm pointing at you. For picking Vine 5 times during the Vuelta.
Yeah, well, you could win every fucking stage. Yeah. So we don't get mad at me.
I'm going for Jay Vine tomorrow.
I think it's Marc Soler time. I think Vine has had his 2 stage wins and they're going to let Marc Soler have his time to shine. Should Q365 control the stage?
Ooh.
The problem is they can't help Pidcock after that climb.
That is true.
Am I drawing? Control this stage. I'm drawing way too Alto de Pique compared to the other long climbs where. Yeah, fair enough.
I don't see it. I'm sorry.
Poor old Ciccone. He'd be good for this too from the break, but anyway. Finn Fisher Black looked good today, so he looks good. I think Hindley is looking scary. I gotta say, I think Hindley looks scary. But yeah, that's what I think. We'll see if the race goes on tomorrow. We then got the famous Angleroo finish the day after, then Farapona. So we've got 3 hard days coming up. Pardon?
I can't wait for Angleroo.
Angleroo should be good. What if Almeida drops Vingegaard?
Good for the race, man. Come on.
Yeah, that'd be crazy for the race. Hope you
enjoyed the recap. Good for your job, though.
Stuff to do in week 3. Hope you enjoyed the recap, and we'll see you at the recap tomorrow. Ciao, ciao, ciao.